Corporate Social Responsibility CSR Part 3. What is CSR Committee? A CSR Committee is a committee of the board constituted under Section 135 subsection 1 of Companies Act 2013. The committee assists the board in formulating CSR policy, recommending CSR projects, recommending CSR expenditure, monitoring implementation of CSR activities, recommending changes whenever required. However, the ultimate responsibility remains with the board of directors. So, which provision deals with the CSR committee? The CSR committee is governed by Section 135 subsection 1, subsection 2, Rule 5 of Companies CSR Policy Rules 2014. Constitution of CSR Committee mandatory is for every company? Answer is no. Only companies to which Section 135 applies are required to examine whether the CSR committee is required. There is an important relaxation introduced by the CSR Amendment Rules 2021. What is the biggest amendment regarding CSR committee? The important amendment is where the amount required to be spent by a company under Section 135 subsection 5 does not exceed rupees 50 lakh in a financial year. So the constitution of CSR committee is not mandatory. In such cases, the board of directors shall discharge all the functions of the CSR committee. So this amendment consistently reduced the burden, or we can say the constitution of the compliance burden for many companies. No need to constitute CSR committee in such case. So which companies must constitute CSR committee? So a company shall constitute CSR committee if CSR provisions are applicable and CSR obligation for that financial year exceeds 50 lakh rupees. So if the CSR obligation is 50 lakh or less, the board itself performs the functions of the CSR committee. So what should be the composition of the CSR committee? CSR committee shall consist of 3 or more directors and at least 1 independent director. This is the general rule under Section 135. So what if the company is not required to appoint an independent director? The Company Act itself provides relaxation. If a company is not required to appoint an independent director under Section 149 subsection 4, the CSR committee shall consist of 2 or more directors. That's all. Example include in many private companies and certain unlisted public companies. So what is the CSR committee composition for private companies having only 2 directors? If the company is not required to appoint independent director, in CSR committee may consist of its only 2 directors. No third director is required merely because of CSR committee. No. What is the CSR committee composition for foreign company? A foreign company shall consist of a CSR committee consisting of 1 person authorized under Section 380 subsection 1 clause D to accept service documents in India and another person nominated by the foreign company. Can the board perform the functions of CSR committee? The board shall perform all CSR committee functions where CSR obligation does not extend 50 lakh or the law specifically permits the board to discharge such functions. Is a separate board resolution is required? Answer is yes. The board should pass a resolution constituting the CSR committee wherever applicable, appointment of members, approving the terms of reference. If the board itself discharges the functions, the resolution should record the reason. That is, the CSR obligation does not exceed 50 lakh. So what are the functions of the CSR committee? So the function shall formulate CSR policy. The committee prepares the draft CSR policy and recommend CSR activities. The committee identifies the projects as per the Schedule 7 of Companies Act 2013 and recommend the annual action plan. The committee recommends the annual action plan including the list of the projects, budget allocations, timelines, implementation schedule, and recommends CSR expenditure. So the committee recommends the amount proposed to be spent and monitors CSR projects. The committee periodically reviews the progress, utilization, timelines, compliances, and recommend modifications. Wherever necessary, the committee recommend a suitable modification to the action plan, annual action plan. Does the CSR committee approve CSR projects? No. CSR committee only recommends, the board approves. So the distinction is very important. Can the board reject the committee's recommendation? Answer is yes, because since the board is ultimate responsibility, it may approve, modify, or reject the recommendations. What is annual action plan? Rule 5 requires CSR committee to formulate an annual action plan. It generally contains the approved CSR projects, implementation schedule, modalities of the utilization and monitoring mechanism, and impact assessment, need of the impact assessment wherever applicable. So the board may alter the annual action plan during the financial year based on the reasonable justification. Annual action plan is mandatory. Answer is yes, because the compliance document, this is a mandatory compliance document after 2021 CSR rules. It helps systematic planning and monitoring. Does the CSR committee implement the projects? Normally no, because implementation generally carried out through the company itself or the eligible implementing agencies under Rule 4. The committee supervises the implementation. How frequently should CSR committee meets? The Companies Act does not prescribe any minimum number of CSR committee meetings. For good governance, we'll suggest before approval of the annual action plan, during the implementation, before the board approval of the CSR report. Should minutes of CSR committee meeting be maintained? Yes, it has to be maintained. Attendance, recommendations, CSR projects discussed, budget recommendations, monitoring reports, decision taken. So these records are important during the secretarial audit or regulatory inspections. Should the CSR committee monitor utilization of funds? Yes, absolutely. Monitoring is one of the primary responsibility. The committee should ensure funds are utilized only for the approved CSR activities, no diversion of funds, and timely completion of the projects, proper documentation and utilization certificates. Can the CSR committee delegate its powers? Yes. Routine administrative activities may be delegated internally. However, statutory functions such as recommending the CSR policy, annual action plan, expenditure should remain with the committee or board wherever the committee is not required. So what are the disclosures requiring under CSR committee? The company shall composition of the CSR committee wherever applicable. Company shall disclose the composition of the CSR committee, CSR policy, CSR projects approved by the board. So these are the company's disclosures on website, if any, and make the prescribed disclosures in the board's report. What are the common mistakes made by the companies? Generally constituting a CSR committee even where the CSR obligation does not exceed 50 lakh, not required, so not mandatory, though not prohibited. Mandatorily not required, but voluntarily can constitute. Some companies not preparing annual action plan and treating committee recommendations as a final approval and not documenting monitoring activities, no proper documentation, not recommending board approval, or failing to update with the websites. So these are the common mistakes we can see. As the 2026 amendment changed the role of CSR committee? Yes, because 2026 CSR amendment rules primarily introduced a new framework permitting CSR implementation through zero coupon, zero principal bonds, that is ZCZB bonds, that is by eligible, issued by eligible not-for-profit organizations listed on social stock exchange. So these amendments expanded permissible CSR implementation mechanism, but did not materially change the constitution or core statutory functions of CSR committee under section 135 rule 5. Hope you are clear. So we'll meet in next part 4. So the takeaway here is CSR committee is constituted under section 135. No CSR committee is required if the CSR obligation is 50 lakh or less. The board performs its functions. The CSR committee recommends and the board approves. Annual action plan is an important compliance requirement. Proper monitoring, proper documentation and disclosures are essential for CSR governance. In part 4, we will discuss on CSR policy and annual action plan, drafting requirements, mandatory clauses, board approval process, website disclosures, recent amendments, and practical drafting tips. We'll meet in part 4.